You there? Well, we're currently in the throes of Christmas lights. So the shop, really dirty. But one of the things I'm going around trying to clean up the shop, we're taking out window air conditioners, all that kind of stuff. So everything that I had stuffed in where the air conditioners would normally rest in the wintertime, I've had to pull all that kind of stuff out. We also had a couple of projects, so you'll notice the bench is real dirty. But what I wanted to do, since I got you all here, is take some of this crap out. That was supposed to go into there. That was from Solzall. If you saw that video, that was a couple of weeks back. But I have little toolboxes with all kinds of stuff in them. And I had to borrow that one. But what is it that I wanted to get to today? I was flipping through all the kind of stuff and going, Then I was talking to Vince and Nick over at the Very Cool Guys channel. If you haven't seen those, go over and check those guys out. Very Cool Guys are very VCG Construction LLC. They're on Facebook, Twitter, all the social media places. And he saw Black Friday deals, and one of them was a 2-pack of DeWalt tape measures. I said, don't buy those because I've had those, and those tape measures, the locks on them kind of really aren't that good. And it got me thinking, what do I think is a good tape measure? Does it matter? It's only about what I think is good for me. So I pulled out a couple that I have. Tape measures. Alright. So let's take a look at these. I got a lot more than this, but so let's look at the evolution of tape measures, of what I thought was good at the time. When I was young, buying a first tape measure, I don't know where that one is, but it's around here someplace. But one of the tape measures that everybody bought was this one. This is the old standard. It's the Stanley 25 Power Lock. It's got a, I think it's a plastic case. I think this one is a plastic case. But the standard ones were metal. Yeah, it's plastic. To make stuff a little cheaper. Sorry, my hair's all a mess. I don't care. But this has kind of been the industry standard for a very long time. The Stanley Power Max tape measure. Now, I know a lot of framers will carry 25, 30, even 50-foot tape measures because they're doing that. But for just general handy stuff, a 25-foot is really kind of overkill. What I thought was really good about the tape is it was clearly marked, right? It's a steel tape, okay? So this tape that's in there is steel. You'll notice on every tape measure, let's see if we can get that going. On every tape measure, the hook here has several features. The hook, if you'll notice, has a little hole in it, okay? What that hole is for is one of a couple things. One, it will allow you to hook the end of a screw. You see that? See how that hooks into there? This screw hooks into there. Okay? And that's what it's meant to do. It's meant to hold onto there. Okay? Now, with that hooked, you can pull just a straight measurement. Okay? But more importantly, what it's for is making circumferences. So if you put the screw or the nail or whatever you want to use, you put it in the middle of your circle, okay? You measure half the distance of the circle from your center point out to where it should be, and you measure half of that distance, because remember, you're making a circle. So from one end to that circle to the other side, that's your full distance. The other thing that it has that does very well are the rivets. This is riveted 3 times. What that allows us to do is to have a really good bite on this tape. Also, the parts of tape measure that people always do that don't know, they don't understand it, is that this metal piece is supposed to move. Okay? This is 1/8 of an inch. The difference being is if you're measuring up against a wall, you push it, okay, and you get a true measurement. If you're pulling a measurement, okay, if you're on the edge of a board and you're pulling the measurement, that's the 1/8 of an inch. It's the difference of the thickness of this, okay? So one of the things that I liked about this this tape measure is, one, the belt clip was good. Nowadays I carry a tool pouch with me. I hate these things. A lot of guys will hook them into their pockets of their work pants or whatever. I don't like that. I always like to put my tape now into a tape holder. But the pocket clip is very strong, and when I was wearing it on my belt or in my pocket, it was very good. The other thing that it gives you is, if you look on every tape measure, I don't know if you can see that or not, there's a measurement that's here. That is the width of this tape measure. So if you have to measure between 2 spots, so this goes up against the wall and that goes up against the other section. So what this allows you to do is to calculate, this one is 3 inches. Now, why did I like that? Well, 3 inches is really easy to add on to your overall measurement. So this was a good tape. I used this for many years, and I like it. I use it a lot of times. The numbers are printed clearly. Okay, it's a very simple tape measure. You'll notice some tape measures will have many other dots and other nomenclature that are on the tape itself, and those are for framing guys. You'll also notice that on a tape measure, every 16 inches, oops, there's a red number. Okay, what's that give you? That red number is every 16 inches where a stud should be. So if you're going up against a wall and you're going, where's my stud? Well, there's a couple ways to do it, but one, you can measure off the wall. You have to take off for the thickness of the drywall or whatever covering is on there, but so far as I've been alive in 1968, everything's been on 16-inch centers in a standard wall. Okay, floor joists, okay, they'll have it oh, that's the other thing I wanted to get into. As you'll notice is every foot, every 12 inches, you'll notice an easier readout. So you have 1 foot. So if somebody calls out a measurement to you, say I want it 24 inches. You can simply pull this out to 24 and you got it. Say you want something that's 1 foot 6 inches. 1 foot 6 1/4. Okay. So I go 1 foot 6 1/4. Okay. So there's different ways to read a tape and all that kind of stuff. I really don't want to kind of get into reading tapes and all that stuff because that's not what I made this video about. It's what I think a tape measure should be and how good an invaluable tool this is. So I kind of liked this for many, many years. The issue that I had was this. As you start to pull this tape out, it will only go so far before it collapses. Okay? If I'm trying to strike a measurement a long way away and I want that tape to go over where I don't have to physically walk over, if I'm doing like a 2x6x12 or 16, I don't want this saw at 12 inches to crack. So I got a different tape. I got this one. This is another Stanley product. This is a 30-foot tape. Now, I will say a 30-foot tape for everything that I use and for general construction, this is kind of overkill for your everyday stuff. But what this had on it, and this you could see has a lot of wear on it. This was my go-to EDC everyday tape. Now, one of the problems that I had with this tape is this supposed to be a level lock. So when you pull this out, it was supposed to lock. Doesn't lock anymore. You know, they have this locky button in the back here. Doesn't work. So, I mean, this tape was everywhere. It still has those 1 foot increments. It still has those 16-inch increments. But you can see a lot of the more delicate, smaller numbers through here. The tape's kind of worn out, and I couldn't read when I was taking certain measurements. I couldn't read it because the numbers were gone. The hook is okay. It was starting to wear out a little bit, and you can see the tape has been bent. It's been a well-used, loved tape measure. But the problem I ran into was one day I didn't have my tape. So there wasn't a Home Depot or a Lowe's then. It was Heckinger and Channel. You can remember those stores. You're an oldie. So the only thing I could find around me was like a mom and pop kind of hardware store. And their regular Stanley and all those tapes were really expensive. So I said, you know, I left it somewhere. I know I got to find it someplace. So let me just buy a cheap one. So I found this cheapo, made in China, Centec Quick Find measuring tape. Now, the one thing I didn't know about this tape was if we look at it, you will notice that the tape itself has measurements on it. 1/8, 1/4, 1/16. Now, I learned to read a tape along many, many years ago, back in grade school. So, this I dubbed my helper's tape. So when I said I needed something that was 7/8, and he's like, huh? Dude, go learn how to read a tape. But this was okay. It got done what I needed to get done. And you know what? I think I paid just a couple of bucks for it. One of the things that I really liked about this is when you go to push back a tape, you'll notice that your finger, okay, is in between the body of the tape, and it comes back and you put which is called a finger brake. But what happens is when this thing is out, say 8-10 foot, your finger is back on it and it comes back and it pinches your finger. That hurts. Now, one of the things I liked about this tape measure is this little black button right here. Got my finger out of the way. So I said, even though it's a helper's tape measure, I liked it because it had that feature. Now, did it drive me a little crazy that it was all marked up with all this stuff? Yeah, I didn't need it, but it was there, and I could hand it to my helper who was with me at the time, whoever it may have been, and call out measurements, and I knew that I would get it right. Now, one of the workhorses that I had was this. The Stanley Fat Max. Now, one of the things that I did to it was immediately take the goofy belt clip off because I had an apron. This is a beautiful tool. I love this tape. It's got good weight, good heft, and it retracts nicely. As you can see, the bottom of it, it's starting to come apart. The shellac or whatever they treat this steel with is coming apart. But as you can see, all the measurements are nice and clear, easy to reach. It is has 3 really good tight rivets here, and the whole thing behind this one was that I could go a long distance with it. The other thing that makes a tape feel really good to hand is the thumb. Okay, is the thumb. Now, if you've never used a tape before, grab a tape measure, pull it out, and typically your hand wants to find, okay, it wants to find the back of the tape, and it also wants to rest inside the tape. It's just kind of where it likes to be. This fit into thumb very, very well. And the only issue that I have with this is when this thing comes back and it retracts and your finger's in the way, man, does that hurt. But I still use it to this day. It's got all kinds of rubbery bits on it and all that kind of fun stuff. The lock on it is nice. It holds the tape. Okay, so it's got a standard thumb lock. Okay, a lot of guys will go into the store with the tape fully retracted and try to push the lock in. It won't work because this is in the way. Okay, so you need to pull it out a little bit. Does this one lock? This one has kind of this Chinesium one. Yeah, this has kind of a rocker switch, and it works okay. This one just doesn't work. The old power lock, that locks very well too. So, I was going through Depot the other day and I noticed, ooh, I wanted a smaller tape measure. A tape measure that's easy to work with. So I came across, this one's got goop on it. Sorry, it had a little drywall goop on it. This, I call this my MyXcalibur. It's the right size, it's the right weight, it's got good rubbery grippy to it. couple of the things that it has that I like very much, and I think it only comes on this 16-inch tape. What do you see at the bottom? Okay, that's for your finger. See what doesn't happen? Your finger doesn't get stuck. What's the other cool thing about this? If you'll notice at the end of there, you see that? You see that thing? That's a piece of steel. I mean, that's a magnet. So what you can do is, we'll take this hammer and use it as a thing. But, ouch. You can pull it on a piece of metal. Okay? It has the screw hook. Okay, so you can make your circles and all that kind of stuff. But if you'll notice, this hook is different than any other one. What's the difference? You have the standard hook here, but then you also have another hook that's right here. Everything is marked just as it was before. Every foot is marked, every 16 inches is marked. But why do I like this so much? You'll notice that it has verticals. So when you're up measuring for a door, okay? Yes. Do I have to tilt my head sideways? No. It works extraordinarily well. I love it. I love how this fits right into your hand, and that this guard, that guard right there, that holds your finger from getting swacked by this tape, is really good. The lock on it is nice. It's got a nice short throw to it. The retraction on it is really good, and the extension of it is awesome. Okay, this goes out. The numbers are nice and big. Okay, and you'll notice, hear it? I don't know what this thing is made out of. It's not steel. I don't know what it's made out of, but I don't know what it is, but it has a certain texture to it that's really tough, and it's impregnated. I had the specs on it earlier. I don't know where it is, but this 16-footer is different than their other larger tapes that are out there. The larger tapes don't have this finger well, and I don't think that they have this little magnet doohickey thingy. But the 16-footer, it also gives you a spot for a lanyard on the back. It also tells you that this is 3 1/4, so the body of this is 3 1/4 inches long. So when you're doing those inside measurements, that's what it tells you. The other thing, the belt clip on it is a wire doohickey thingy. I don't quite like it because I don't use belt clips, but when I use it to hook it onto my belt, it's a little difficult. I mean, it isn't this belt clip. This belt clip is nice. It's easy. This is a little more difficult, but it's okay. It's 16 foot. It's all I ever use so far as standard construction. 16 feet. That's almost twice of what interior walls are. So I'm digging on this. I'm digging on this Milwaukee. I'm digging on it. So what do you look for in a tape? Had you even thought about it before? Go into your Home Depot or your Lowe's or to your Ace Hardware. Go into your Ace Hardware. How about going into True Value, one of those independently owned guys. Those guys are kind of starving, you know. So go and check them out. Go look and see what's out there. Go check out this 16-footer. I like it. And I know next week or year from now, I'll look at something else and go, ooh, yeah, that's kind of nice. But it's always handy to have 4 or 5 tape measures around, so, you know, somebody borrows yours and you're like, I got to get another one. So, remember, does your tape measure up? Alright, my mouth-breathing mammals, this was a lot more probably information than you wanted to know about measuring tapes. Go out, see if you have a nice one that also stands on its base. So go out and check, look around, see the construction of it. Go buy what you like. Hey, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, like and share and subscribe. Hey, all my mouth-breathing mammals that are out there, be kind, be nice to one another. You know, the only change comes from you. Change from everybody else. Doesn't happen from somebody else, but it starts with you. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.